In this week's Parsha of Emor, the Torah formulates the lav of Chilul Hashem and simultaneously the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, of sanctifying the name of God. The Torah says in Parshas Beis, Pasuk Lamed Beis, "V'lo sechalu Hashem kodshi," that God forbid one should not be involved in any kind of desecration, profaning of God's name. V'nigdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael, and one also has an obligation to sanctify the name of Hashem amongst the Jewish people. The Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvos and Lo Saseh Samach Gimel, the Rambam divides this lav into several segments, 3 chalokim. And the Rambam explains, the first chelek, says the Rambam, is the classic sugya that the Gemara has a number of times in Shas, in Sanhedrin, in Ksubis, in Psochim, where the Gemara speaks about the concept of Yahar Val Yavar, that for 3 cardinal sins a Jew is obligated to give up his or her life. One is obligated to Moshe Nefesh, and if a person is not Moshe Nefesh, one does not give up one's life for these 3 cardinal sins, one is in violation of the law of V'lo sechalu Hashem kodshi. One is involved in an act of Chilul Hashem. That's one aspect. The second aspect, says the Rambam, refers to sins outside of the framework of these 3 cardinal sins. Shar Averos. That there, a person does an Avera, the Avera is done without necessarily having any hana, having any benefit, or any tava, anything imperative which drove you to do the Avera, but rather your intention is simply mered or prikas ol. A person does the Avera out of rebelliousness. Sometimes people, shall we say, will do things just to make a statement that they are upset. And in this situation, that constitutes an act of Chilul Hashem. Essentially, a person is making a statement that the mitzvahs of Hashem Yisbarach have no value, have no validity, have no efficacy, and this is the second chelek. However, the third chelek is the one that I find to be the most intriguing and perhaps, in some respects, the least well known. Namely, says the Rambam, the third segment of Chilul Hashem and Kiddush Hashem consists of in Adam sheyadua b'ma'alosav Talmid Chacham v'yirei shamayim. A person is a Torah scholar, a person is a God-fearing Jew, a person who's known for his sense of ethics and morality. He does something which in the eyes of others appears to be inappropriate. Ve'ein roi l'nichbad kazeh lasos dimyon hapor lahu, says the Rambam. Someone of this stature should not be involved in such a activity. Inherently, the activity is not interdicted, is not proscribed, is not usher, but since it's a person of great stature, people might misinterpret, misconstrue, misunderstand, and that would constitute an act of Chilul Hashem. The Gemara in Yuma, on Peivav, the Gemara says, Hechi dam Chilul Hashem. This is the source for this third segment according to the Rambam. The Gemara says, Rav contends, a person, if I were to purchase meat on credit and didn't pay immediately, people might misconstrue, misunderstand, people might somehow think that I'm being mezalzel b'mam chavero, that I'm simply taking lightly someone else's money. Rabbi Yochanan says, if I walk 4 amos without learning Torah, or without putting on tefillin, again, that might constitute a Chilul Hashem. In other words, we're talking about, certainly, one is permitted to buy on credit, unquestionably. One that does not have to walk Daled Amos. Of course, ideally, one should, every Daled Amos, be involved in the study of Torah, but there are those who don't wear tefillin kol hayom, even though it was Man Chazal, that was the practice, that was in vogue. And today, Baruch Hashem, there are many outstanding individuals who aspire to spiritual heights who do so as well. However, this might be misconstrued and misinterpreted, and a person who's a individual of stature, which essentially every Jew is, has to be extremely cautious what they do, especially in the public arena, how people might misconstrue, misinterpret. Not only does the Rambam mention this in Sefer HaMitzvot, but also the Rambam Yisodi HaTorah, when he speaks about this third element, says the Rambam, Sheyasa also Adam Godel HaTorah, U'Mefursam B'Chasidus, Dvarim She'abrios Meranin Nacharav, Aval B'She'enin Averos, even though we're not talking about involving yourself in any kind of Avera. And this Rambam calls HaChelek HaMeyuchad. This is the unique, or if you will, the very significant element of the other components of Chilul Hashem. This particular component, number 3, that I'm describing, is one that one has to be exceptionally cautious, exceptionally careful. I just want to, moment, focus on this last element, and that is that every single one of us, in many, many respects, especially those Jews, Baruch Hashem, who are Shomrei Torah Mitzvos, unquestionably, in some respects, have a status of a Talmid Chacham, have a status of someone whose every action is scrutinized by those around us who are non-observant, those who have not yet been zocheh to be connected to a life of Torah and mitzvahs, and to the extent that we, all of us, who are Shomrei Torah mitzvahs, could be Mekadosh Shem Shamayim, sanctify the name of Hashem, and be exceptionally cautious about our behavior, how we carry ourselves, and the like. That is something which is absolutely critical, especially in an era where Baruch Hashem, many people have opportunities to become Bali Tshuva, to come closer to Hashem, to His Torah. Here we have a glorious opportunity in really ways that are probably unparalleled, to be Mekadosh Shem Shamayim, and to be exceptionally careful not to do anything that might be misinterpreted or misconstrued by others, even though the item itself that I'm involved in, inherently, there's nothing which is not permissible about it. This notion of the Jew being Mekadosh Shem Shamayim on an ongoing basis in all of our daily activities is exceptionally critical, and L'fi Hadiyus, there's no question that here we have the greatest opportunity for Kiddush Hashem. The first time in Kiddush Hashem, Alavai, no Jew should ever be involved in any situation where Chas v'Sholom may come to Yahari Bal Yavor. And even the second, Alavai, no Jew should be involved in any kind of merit or prikasol, the one rebels against Hashem Yisbarach. But in the third area, if we examine carefully our actions, we will see that it's possible for us to be Mekadosh Shem Shamayim every single moment of our lives. One of the things that Moreinu Rabbeinu Hagoyin Avraham Lichtenstein Zatzal, I believe, exemplified was Dafka, this particular area, this Chelek HaMiyuchad. All of his actions just bespoke anova, unbelievable modesty, bespoke total yashrus, total honesty, moral integrity beyond belief. All of his actions bespoke emes, someone who was mevakish emes in every single aspect of his life. And certainly, l'zeicha nishmaso atahora, we should try to emulate this great tzaddik, this great Talmid Chacham, and in this third area, in the Chelek HaMiyuchad of Kiddush Hashem, we should examine every one of our actions and make sure that they're in sync and in tandem with the Torah and mitzvahs, even actions that are innocuous seemingly and involve no avera chas v'shalom. Even those actions should be carefully examined under a Torah microscope in order to make sure that all these actions will lead to a Kiddush Hashem, v'nidashti b'soch b'nei Yisrael, ani Hashem b'kadisha.